Wambele kama, oh, wambele kama, wambele kama, oh, wambele kama. Amutangwa pichabangwa, apichakata ya odowodo. Akwadokata gobebigbe, oweketibo kubile. Abukati lojebije, osotwabu wajebozi. Akwifuna bidona ni walibenu, ozokya ni wazobute. Nwanne m weli nwayọ n'ụwa mgbede ka mma na ọ na-ebido na n'ịwa ibenu. Kama ndị ga-edupụta m ụwa, agụụ abịa ga-eju na m. Chimekwenna, Chimekwenna, ka agụụ bịa ga-eju na m. Kama agụụ dupụta m ụwa, ma nne ja ga-eju na m. Kama ngaba ka ngwa ụmụnne m, ka mgba ka nkwụ, maka na ngwa na-agba ka iji, tupu izu na-abọ na mmụọ, emerụka ọgbọ nkụ, onye wee ya ewelu ya wee sie nri, mana nkwụ na-atụ ngenge, arọkwula arọ nọ ya kwụ. Nyabụ na were ikene nwayọ n'ụwa mgbede ka mma na a na-azọsi anyị wazọwa oche. Oli n'ike na ana n'ike, ọchọ ngwa ngwa na ana ngwa ngwa. Onye ọbụla kwenyere ime n'ụwa mgbede ka mma na a na-ebido na n'ịwa ibenu. Wambele kama, oh, wambele kama, wambele kama, oh, wambele kama. Ewe tasiani asujaya, wambele kama, asujaya, asujaya, wambele kama. Esujeyo kwa asujaya, wambele kama.
Good evening, great people. Good afternoon, depends our various time zone. I am Mazi Chika Austin, and we are here once again to look at the mess Northerners have dragged themselves into. That is all we are going to talk about this moment. We are going to look at the issue. Mazi Foreign, well done, sir. We are going to look at how these guys have wrecked themselves, how they have destroyed their society. But before we go to that extensive talk this evening, I would love to confirm from your own end if we are, if you are receiving us loud and clear. Please confirm if you're receiving us loud and clear so that we can move ahead. Thank you.
agụ abịaghị eju na mụ chimekwena chimekwena ka agụụ bịaghị eju na mụ ka mmị agụ dupụta m ụwa.
Okay, I haven't confirmed that from our people. Polycarp, I'm greeting from here also. We have to speed up to look at how these guys have destroyed themselves because of their miscalculations. I listened to our leader's speech yesterday, and yes, in that broadcast of yesterday, he made a statement that really, really touched my soul. And that statement was, he said that the Lord Most High, Chukwukabiama, told him to be at peace and watch how he will destroy not for us. That was a message that was given to him 2012. And today, the North is just destroyed. They are ruined. So this evening, we are going to talk extensively on how they equally added towards their own destruction. Most of you might not know that a lot of roads in North are abandoned. They don't travel to their roads. They don't go to their popular motor parks. They don't even use the alternate route provided by them, by their government, which is train. They don't even use it any longer. Northerners are living in hell. And that is a strong indication that Chukwukabiama have decided to punish them over the crimes of their crimes of yesterday, over their arrogancy, over their pillage in our lands. So this moment, what we are going to talk about extensively is their yesterday's miscalculation, their today's miscalculation, and of course, where it's going to land them finally. Where it's going to land them finally. You will agree with me that one single shot has never been released by the Biafran people. But North is filled up with different IDP centers, internally displaced persons. There are huge, uncountable IDP camps littered all over the entire North. So you can now understand that they are in their own civil war. They are already, North is in a severe civil war, like most of them have acknowledged. So, but before that, let's see some of the things that the Northerners created for themselves. This moment analysis, all we're going to discuss, we're going to look at the security issue or issues facing Northern Nigeria and how their actions and inactions have immensely aided and abetted their current sorrows. So I did a kind of PowerPoint presentation to back up my facts, to back up my evidences, and I will be flopping the screen of the gadget I'm using for us to get things clearer, for us to have a clear understanding of what we are talking about. Today, the northern part of Nigeria is proudly flooding four resources, four human resources. Whether it's on negative or on positive, that is by the way. But today, Nigerians are being given four resources, and these resources are these resources so far. In today Nigeria, this is what is coming out from North, and this is what she is offering to the Nigerian nation. One is Boko Haram, another one is Fulani terror, another one is Islamic State and Levianta, West Africa. I see West Africa. And another one is bandits. This is exactly the four resources. These are the four resources currently manufactured in northern Nigeria. They are producing Boko Haram in quantum. They are producing Fulani terror in quantum. And of course, they are producing, I see West Africa. They are producing also bandits from one region. One North is producing. So we are going to dwell extensively on these four, will I say, quadruple terror arms of the North. We are going to make analysis. All we are going to talk at this moment is how they were found, how they operate, how they were funded, their modus operandi, their jurisdictions, and of course, the carnage they have committed to other parts of the world. So we are talking about what we are going to talk about this moment is strictly on this quadruple production of the North. This is what they are producing, and this is their own contribution to the Nigerian state. So, most times there is this high distortive tendencies inherent in most Nigerians. People know the truth, but they want to distort it. It's common among Nigerians. People find pleasure in distorting facts, distorting truths. They don't see it as anything. So why do I say this? If there is any people who are currently and immensely working for the destruction of Nigeria, it is the North. Make no mistake about it. This moment analysis will prove what my submission, the submission I just made. It is them that wants to destroy the country. You understand me? Yes, Mazi Foreign will will try as much as possible to talk about the source of their funding. But you should also understand that looking at the source of their funding, we're going to deep dig. That is all we're going to discuss this moment. A lot of areas that have to do with the four production the North is giving. So we're going to look at the four productions that Nigeria is giving the Northern Nigeria is giving, not just Nigerian state. She's equally making sure she export that to Sahel and other parts of the world. So we are looking at the four. We said they are Northern Nigeria offered to Nigeria. We said they are one, the Boko Haram, and if you watch the chart, if you watch the chart here, you will now discover that Boko Haram is having the more space in the chart. Then after Boko Haram, you will see the next The next one is Fulani Terror Group, and you can see her place here. So after Boko Haram, that is committing more destruction, the next is Fulani Terror Group. Then after that, you have I See West Africa, then the bandits. And all these destructive elements are coming from one region, and that region is the northern part of Nigeria. So first of all, we're going to look at the Boko Haram. Let's look at the Boko Haram, how the whole thing, how the Boko Haram started. First of all, Boko Haram was formed to checkmate Obasanjo and Christians. Obasanjo and Christians. Let's talk about that. How Boko Haram was formed. We say, first of all, it was formed to checkmate Obasanjo. You know, immediately Obasanjo emerged as the Nigerian president, being a Christian, these northern elites, these so-called people who are crying today, they went and formed Boko Haram with the intention to make sure Obasanjo does not turn a crusader. They said if we form Boko Haram, we are going to, make sure he does not promote, we're going to make sure he does not promote Christian agenda. We're going to make sure he's not going to, entrench Western ideas. So what the elites, the northern elites did was to rally around and recruit some guys and call them Boko Haram. That they need a check and balance. They need the watchdog to watch Obasanjo's entrenchment of Western ideology. So when they formed it, they made sure they gave these boys all the necessary support. Yes. And one thing they did in Boko Haram that you and I must, what I want to say now, or what I want to show you now, is as important if you want to understand how Boko Haram concept is all about. Another thing they did, apart from forming it to checkmate Obasanjo, another thing was that the Boko Haram is a composition of various Muslim tribes. So the Boko Haram they formed was not a Fulani agenda. The Boko Haram was strictly for Islamization. So because it was strictly for Islamization, a Muslim from Kogi was happy to join Boko Haram because Boko Haram was more of a jihad plan. It has nothing to do with one tribe or one ethnic group. So it was a composition of all the Muslim ethnic composition in Nigeria and in Sahel. You should understand what I'm trying to say. They formed Boko Haram, which was mainly a composition of Fulanis and non-Fulani Muslims. That's why you could see Boko Haram operating in Kogi effectively, operating in other parts of even Cameroon, because they opened the platform as a jihad platform, as a platform that is going to accommodate all the Muslim Ummah, irrespective of your ethnic affiliation, irrespective of your tribe inclination. So it was more of Muslim Ummah project than a tribe project. And that's why Boko Haram became, a kind of a regional circulated movement. You could see it in northeast, you could see it in northwest, you could see it in middle belt, you could even see it in south-south like in Edo, so-called south-south like in Edo operating. You could even see it in Cameroon, in Chad, because it was not an ethnic-driven vision. It was more of jihad, which has to do with Muslims across various ethnic groups. So that was how Boko Haram was formed. It was mainly of various ethnic composition, not necessarily for Fulani or other. Now, another thing is that immediately the Boko Haram got support of most conservative northern Muslims. Who are these conservative Muslims? Like Buhari is a conservative Muslim, and all the rest of them. Those who tenaciously believe in their religion. So this Boko Haram, when it was formed, a lot of conservative Muslims rallied around them and gave them support. They gave Boko Haram support. And one of the supports Boko Haram got was this kind of support. Let's see this one. And this support came from Buhari. And he made that speech on June 2013. He said, Jonathan's declaration of state of emergency is anti-North. That was when Goodluck was planning to declare state of emergency in fight against Boko Haram. He said it's an anti-North. Another statement he made in support of Boko Haram was, Buhari, military offensive against Boko Haram, anti-North. You can see. So Boko Haram got a lot of support from most conservative Northerners. They supported because Boko Haram was mainly created to checkmate Obasanjo, who was a Christian, to make sure that he never entrenched, he never stand as an obstacle to Abuja Declaration, which was the pinnacle for Islamization of Nigeria. So they now raised a foot soldier as an intimidation mechanism against Obasanjo and his fellow crusaders, and any attempt by him to embrace entrenchment of Western ideology against Islamic ideology. So they now set up all these things. Now, there was something that happened, and this is because this is analysis, and we must try as much as possible to make all the necessary connectivities. Now, along the line, something happened. Boko Haram was strictly under the control of northern elders, and they were giving these groups all the necessary supports, making sure that no government crushed them, making sure no government unleashed excessive military operations against them. So the northern elders were there protecting their boys. The Muslim clerics of northern extractions were busy protecting these guys. But something happened. Remember, don't forget so easily. I told you that Boko Haram is of multi-ethnic compositions. I guess you don't forget that so quick. It was not a Fulani-driven movement. It was a Muslims-driven movement, which means Muslims from all walks of life were member Muslims. Most Muslims from all ethnic background were members of Boko Haram. It was not strictly or mainly for the Fulani ethnic group. So what happened was, during Goodluck's time, something happened. The Boko Haram was hijacked by international actors. Follow what is happening. When Goodluck entered, and Goodluck began to operate a lot of not anti-Muslim. He began to operate pro-Jerusalem policies. He began to, initiate a lot of policies towards Israel. He began to normalize relationship between Nigeria and Israel. He began to, vote for Israel in most of the resolutions in United Nations. Nigeria began to make a paradigm shift from voting against Israel to voting for Israel in UN, a lot of UN resolutions. So what happened at that moment? Most Muslim countries like Sudan, like Chad, like Turkey, like the then US government of Barack Obama, and the then Prime Minister of UK, David Cameron, and all the rest of them, they now felt that if they should allow Goodluck is going to normalize a solid relationship with the state of Israel. And mind you, Goodluck government at the background were of Igbo Biafrans. So, and these Igbo Biafrans decided to put a lot of pressure on Goodluck's government to see the need for Goodluck to run to Israel if she wants to survive. So at that moment, they talked like the then Minister of Aviation from Anambra Senator, this lady Senator, her name I've lost her name. She was the Minister of Aviation. She encouraged Goodluck to see the need to sign BASA, bilateral airspace agreement with the state of Israel. And Ihejirika, who was the chief of army staff there, started encouraging the importation of Israel's military know-how in Nigerian military services. So Turkey, Chad, Sudan, UK, and US under Obama felt that Goodluck needs to be tamed. That the idea of Goodluck going towards Israel, going towards Jerusalem, yes, thank you, Stella Odua. Thank you, Nkechi, who was, Stella Odua was the Minister of Aviation. Then she encouraged signing of bilateral airspace agreement with the state of Israel, which is BASA. So what actually happened was these countries began to feel that if Goodluck should be allowed, he's going to normalize relationship between Nigeria and Israel. And a lot of sub-Saharan African countries are going to follow that path, thereby making the Muslim countries to lose their grip in Nigeria. So what these countries did was to hijack Boko Haram from the local supporters or the local actor or local sponsors, like the likes of Buhari and all the rest of them. These countries came, pumped money, hijacked Boko Haram, because remember I told you that Boko Haram is of multi-ethnic composition. So they hijacked Boko Haram from these local players, from these northern leaders. They hijacked Boko Haram and began to fund them, began to give them access to arm market. They began to, expose them to Sahel, other terror group in Sahel region, like Sudan, like in Chad, like in Libya. They began to link them up. Turkey, Chad, Sudan, and all the rest of them. And they were doing that to make sure that Goodluck never win the war on terror. So what happened at that moment was this. Immediately, international players hijacked Boko Haram. As a punishment to Goodluck, there was a transfer of loyalty by this Boko Haram member. They transfer the loyalties they have to their northern local actors or local players to these international players. That was where the problem began. So, because those international players who are sponsoring them exposed them to a larger market, exposed them to better dollars and not naira, they began to transfer their loyalty from those who funded them locally and began to develop mind robbing with these international players. And that was how the local players lost control of Boko Haram. So what now happened? Because they have lost control. I'm talking about these so-called northern elites. Because they have lost control on Boko Haram, what they did was this. That, remember, they respect good luck and all the rest of them have on them is because of the rampage of terror. So they understand that if they have terrorist group they are controlling, that every government must call them, consult them in order to manage the terror group. So what they did, they have hijacked what we formed. They have taken the international players have taken it away from us. We are not going to be allowed to just be like that. What they did, remember, this northern elites, so-called northern elites I'm talking about, remember, they are more of Fulani ethnic group. What they now did was they now transfer their own arms and their own funding. They move it from Boko Haram, who they are no longer in control of, and form their own group, which we see today as Fulani militias. And that is where Miyetti Allah falls in. Now, when they form their own Fulani militia, remember Boko Haram project was Islamization, to Islamize Nigeria and not to Fulanize the people, because Boko Haram cannot talk about Fulanization because the composition is not Fulani composition, rather is of various Muslim ethnic groups. So you cannot say Boko Haram is talking about Fulanization because it's not mainly dominated by the Fulanis. So what now happened is that when these Nigeria local players now form their own, because already the one they formed, being Boko Haram, is already hijacked, they now recruited their own Fulani clan or their Fulani group and armed them, and they are the ones you are seeing today rampaging all over the place. But the difference between them and that of Boko Haram is that Boko Haram was talking about Islamization. They are talking about Islamization and Fulanization. You understand? They are talking about if they conquer you, they occupy. They begin to import their Fulani people, which is Fulanization. That is what Fulanization is all about. Changing the indigenous population from what it used to be to Fulani population. And that is what Fulanization is. Fulanization, which we saw after they lost control of Boko Haram, is strictly the project of Fulanis and their so-called allies. So, what am I trying to say, or what are we saying this evening? So, when they now formed their own militia, because they understand that Boko Haram is no longer under their control, Turkey has taken over, Chad has taken over, Sudan has taken over, and all the rest of them. These guys they now formed became so powerful. You know, this terror group is a kind of sect. SECT is a kind of sect thing. Usman forms his own in Zamfara. another Bisilu forms his own in Borno, another person forms his own in Kanu. So as a result of that, there was balkanization unknowingly to the northern allies. They never knew they were creating units. They are creating different kingdoms within their own kingdom, thereby making the superstructure to be weak and the substructures to become so powerful. Because as they were arming these various groups, telling Usman go and control people at Zamfara to form the telling, these boys began to also transfer loyalty directly to their field commanders and not the so-called elites who are the bosses of their commanders. And that was how the movement from Boko Haram to what we know today as a Fulani terrorism began to spread. And this is the reaction of local actors. Immediately they lost the control of Boko Haram. What they did was, reactions of local actors, they formed their own Fulani ethnic militias, moved from Islamization to Fulanization or total conquest, used the government structures to give them covers, then place their true identity with bandits, encourage them to spread out. So, you know what happened? Immediately they formed their own, because they formed their own out of necessity. They have lost control of Boko Haram. They need to remain in the mainstream of consultation. They want to make sure that they are being regarded as the only people who can, who can be reached out for the peace of northern Nigeria. So they felt, hence the Boko Haram they formed, they have lost control of it as a result of international penetration. The penetration of international actors who bought these kinds with better funding and better contacts. So let's form our own so that people will equally understand. Any government that comes will understand that we are still important. And they form these Fulani militias because they are mainly Fulani herders. What they do, they use government structures to give them covers. They downplayed their true identity with bandits. Another thing they did is that deceptively, they don't want anybody to recognize them as Fulani militias. Rather, they say bandits. Why? They understand that the word bandits does not recognize ethnic identity. If you say bandit, bandit is a bandit. Because they understand that immediately you say militias, Fulani militias, people's eyes will be exposed to the fact that it is them themselves that form this thing that is destroying them. So what they now say, let's say bandits, let's bribe the media, the corrupt Nigerian media system, to downplay the ethnic identity of the terrorists and give them a name that removes their ethnic identity from them. And that was how the word bandit came. And of course, they encouraged them to spread out. Because remember, it's all about Fulanization and Fulanization project. So they encouraged them to, spread out. Now, what now happened in course of them spraying out? As they were spraying out, they were recruiting grown-up Almajiris. Remember when you talk about Almajiri, the Almajiri of 1980 today is up to 40 years. Am I correct? So today is an adult Almajiri. He never learned any work, any job. He never went to school. He never, got exposed to any way of survivalhood. All he knew is begging until he grew up. So what these guys were doing as they were spreading out, they were making use of the raw material available created by the same northern elites, which is Almajiri system. They were recruiting them, and as they were recruiting them, all they were singing to their ears is kidnap anyone that comes your way, take ransom, rob, do this, do that. And that was how the elites lost the control of the second group they created, which is, excuse me, Fulani militias. Because as they were spreading, they began to recruit boys on their own and made the boys to understand that the centrality of all they are doing is money, kidnap, rob. So as these guys were kidnapping, they don't care to know if Mr. A is the boss of their boss. In as much as Mr. A is rich, they go after Mr. A and kidnap Mr. A. And that is how the same people who made these guys began to suffer it mostly. Because these guys, all their target is how do we make money? So if the man who funded them, if the woman who funded them is rich, they go after you, pick you, you pay the ransom, and they continue their life. And that is how the North today is totally destroyed by their own elites. By their own elites. Their own elites destroyed the North. And that is why you see Sanusi is crying today. That's why you see the Sultan is crying. That is why you see every one of them is complaining. One bad thing with evil is this. You might be in control of its starting point, but you will not be in control of how it ends. And that is exactly what northern Nigeria is suffering now today. They gave a praise, I could remember, they gave praises, even Buhari said it, that any fight against the Boko Haram is a fight against the entire North. And the Boko Haram nominated him as their representative. And those days, they were just laughing, thinking they were doing Jonathan, thinking they were doing Obasanjo, thinking they were doing Christians and Southerners. Today, the snake they refuse to kill has grown up to be a python and is now a threat to those who nursed and nurtured them and the entire neighborhood. So you can understand why Nigeria will never be redeemable. Why this country will never be redeemed. Because those who created the monster are now regretting forever giving a feeding bottle to the monster at the infancy stage. So when you see them crying, why do they cry? They are crying because even their children all over the world cannot come back to their region any longer. They don't know how to manage that thought till grave, that their children cannot come back to the former peaceful region of theirs to what it is today. And they, in their secrets, are regretting ever being part of the evil they are experiencing today. That is just how it is. That is just how it is. And unfortunately to them, The rest of Nigeria is now open and ready to checkmate the spread of their virus. Because it's a virus they created, of course. It's a virus they created for themselves. But look at one thing they try to do. They understand how they have destroyed their region. They understand how their region is irredeemable. All they are struggling today is to export that virus to other parts of the country. And you can see what is happening in Delta today. Herdsmen killed over 8 people. I hope you understand. In Delta, they killed Fulani herdsmen killed over 8 people. In Anambra, same happened. In Ebonyi, is happening. In Yoruba land, is happening. In Middle Belt, in fact, that part of Nigeria is ravaged. So all what their elders are doing now is to see how these monsters they created become a national issue. That's what they are doing. They are working assiduously to make sure they spot this menace that is destroying their country, their region, down to other regions. You understand me? They use the security, you heard what Mungono said, the National Security Advisor to the President. He said that the Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari, is even frustrating the security, efforts of this country. So what they are doing within the Abuja and within the fora of the cabal is to make sure they nationalize what they created that is ravaging their region. They are making sure that they export it to other regions, so that it's just like a girl. It's just like a girl who is a HIV positive, out of foolishness and wickedness, saying that she's not going to die alone. She's going to make sure she sleeps with many men before she dies. That is exactly the mentality of these northern elites. What they are thinking is, how do we export this virus we created for ourselves to Biafran land, to other parts of the nation, so that the people will die along with us? And that is exactly the game they are playing. But unfortunately to them, the emergence of IPOB, the emergence of Nnamdi Kanu became a strong impediment to that dream of theirs. And you could see, because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and IPOB have taken a strong stand in defense of the motherland, the Yorubas quickly and smartly activated same measure, because they understand all these things. Make no mistake, most of the Yoruba governors are of APC extraction. Yes, they are of APC extraction, but because they have read the handwriting, they have understand the plans of the northern elites to get their menace exported to other regions. And that's why everybody is brazen up. Now, let me tell you something. And very, very important, we will understand this. Make no mistake, the international communities are not blind. Neither are they deaf, neither are they dumb. None of these are they. Every single development in Nigeria is carefully monitored. And the defunct USSR never got to the level Nigeria is today, and she collapsed. On that premise, Nigeria's collapse is inevitable. But what we should do as a people, very, very important, is to understand that fact that the country will be plunged into a severe crisis. It's going to happen. It's just a social science. It's just something you sit down, you put this together, you get accurate prediction. It's going to explode. It is going to explode. And her explosion is going to lead to the birth of many nations. Because mind you, they don't want to, you know, they understand. I'm talking about these northern elites, so-called northern elites. They understand this fact that at this very moment, that they have nothing mentally to compete with the rest of Nigerians. They understand that. They equally understand that their respect to the rest of their neighbors, I'm talking about Chad, Cameroon, Niger, is gone. They understand that. And they feel that the best thing for them to do at this very moment is to, by all costs, keep Southerners as part of the country. Why do they want to keep Southerners to be part of this country? By all means. Because to them, Chad, Niger, Cameroon are all praying for the end of the contraption so that they can expand, especially Chad. Idris Deby of Chad is looking towards annexing Adamawa State down to Yobe. Same applies to Niger. Niger is looking at annexing whatever will be remain as a part of northern Nigeria to them, to themselves, add up. So what the elites, the northern elites, their fear is, if these their lands are announced to Niger by the time Biafra is seated, and they are being announced forcefully taken over by Chad and Niger, that will they remain their relevancy in Chadian politics, in Nigerian politics? That has been their fear. That is where their fear is. Because they understand that in Nigeria politics, they are worshipped. They play the God part. But by the time they will be announced to Chad and Niger, they will turn out to be slaves. Because already there are actors existing in those societies. And that's why you see them, all of them are thinking, are worried. Sanusi is saying that they have destroyed themselves, that they have miscalculated and they have wrecked them themselves. Sultan is crying same. And all the rest of them. But can they save the situation? Do you think there's anything, possibly, anything that can be humanly applied to arrest the situation in North? Never. Nothing. Why nothing will solve the problem in the North is because the Northern problem is no longer locally induced problem. Most of their neighboring countries are much interested to see this thing keep on going so that they can expand. There is an expansionist mindset in Chad. There's an expansionist mindset in Niger. So in as much as these guys are still eyeing expansion, in as much as they are still thinking towards expansion, expanding towards northern part of Nigeria, that means they will do everything possible to make sure that Nigeria dies a natural death so that they can take up areas they want to take. And they have justification for that. Yes, during the national confab, just that I don't have the clip here, one of the emirs of Adamawa State said that even though Nigeria collapses, that he will take his people, the people of Adamawa, to Niger Republic, and they will become one nation, one country. So if such a man could make such statement, it invariably means that they are already in contact. Most of the emirs are already in contact with Chad, with Niger, to join them. But the fear of the elites, I'm talking about the political class of northern extraction, their fear is that will they be relevant by the time Chad, Niger, Cameroon will take over their own land as part of them? Will they be relevant? Will they be regarded? Will they be made a god they are in Nigeria? So when you look at all these factors, you will now understand that Nigeria's security problem is irredeemable. At this moment, that is just how and what is going to play out. And like most of us know, if anybody tells you that America and her allies are not going to intervene in Nigeria issue, that person is kidding. Yes, quote me. It doesn't matter the opposition from presidency. It doesn't matter the attempt by the cabals to reject that. United States is understudying the development. United States will definitely make an obvious position in Nigeria case. It doesn't matter who is opposing or who is not opposing, because the whole thing is going out of control. The security structures are failing seriously, and we can see things are falling apart seriously. But thank God, because we are not that in a loose form. I'm talking about the Biafran society, the Biafran land. We are not in a loose form, because at least we can talk about a front of defense, which IPOB is. The worst that would have happened to us if not having something like IPOB, and we anchored on these so-called governors, that would have been the most devastating thing that would have happened to us. But thank God for the place of IPOB. It doesn't matter, attempts by some folks and the foes to tag the noble movement or blackmail it. The truth remains, unarguably, timely, she has proven herself to be the only standing voice for we all. Yes, that is what IPOB, because she has been oppressed, she has been bullied, she has been intimidated, harassed, yet she's still living till today, at the bewilderment of many. And such is what encouraging, because what is to come requires every ethnic group to define, or every people to define a front for themselves. It can't stop. The influx of arms in Nigeria is terrible. And the unfortunate thing is that the arms are going to individuals who don't even understand what rules of engagement is all about. All they know is shoot, shoot, and shoot. Nothing else. They don't even know the cost of every single bullet they are emptying on civilians. You will now appreciate why we must be security conscious, why we must think like humans, why we must think defensively. and if possibly offensively. Very, very important. Because we are getting, I think I have a few minutes to leave, but let me say this. I have taken time for a week plus now to be studying what happened in Central African Republic, the Selaka group and the anti-Balaka group. I have taken time to study, and I discover Nigeria is going in the same way. Nigeria is speedily going on the same direction that Central African Republic went. Because the Seleka group, which are mainly Muslims, that was exactly what the Fulanis are doing, was exactly what these guys were doing. They were killing Christians, burning churches, and they felt because they were receiving support from Sudan, from Chad, that the Christians will keep on praying or fasting while they are being mowed down. But one day the Christians decided to form their own militia group known as Anti-Balaka. And guess what? The story till today is a scary one. And that's exactly where Nigeria is heading to. The unfortunate thing is that people are watching. People tend not to speak. People tend not to acknowledge the fact that human lives are being wasted every day. But let me tell you, statistically speaking, the volume of anger in Nigeria is clocking to 100%. People are angry. People are seriously angry. The difference between Nigeria and Central African Republic now, as I speak to you, is that the Christians in Central African Republic got access to arms, and the Christians in Nigeria have not yet gotten access to arms. Any day that channel is opened, believe you me, you will now understand that people are fed up. You will now understand that there is high and tense anger. It doesn't matter what the government sponsors in media houses. But the truth is that those you're killing, there are people in North, those Christians in North, those Christians in South, you're rampaging. Like in Delta, you went in Delta, you killed over 8 people. And first of all, police said it's lie. Later, 6 bodies were exhumed, and police said, nah, it's true. Man, those guys are not happy. The worst thing that can ever happen to anybody is for you to think they are smiling. Any day they have access to arms, then you will now understand the difference between an angry propelled fight and what the Fulanis are doing, thinking they are really fighting. Their own is not anger propelled. Their own is wickedness propelled. They are wicked. They want to mow them. It's not anger. But by the time these people have arm and give a counter fight, that is when you will understand when a man is fighting with a spirit of anger. He will kill and possibly eat. So those who are concerned should understand that there is no one that is a reservoir of violence. Very, very important. So what are we trying to say before we digress a bit anyway? The North have destroyed their region. They should encourage the boys they created for themselves to limit within the northern enclave. Very, very important. Sanusi, Sultan of Sokoto, when these guys were rampaging, Buhari, you guys were giving kind of support to them. Some of you were talking that those who are fighting Boko Haram should be tried in International Criminal Court, that Boko Haram is not this. Talking trashes. The snakes you trained have turned to python today, and they are now threats. Not only you who trained them, who fed them, but to the generality of your community. That is why evil, the consequences of evil, is no respecter of any man. Today you can see that the Northerners have destroyed their Nigeria. Most times when I read some people, they said, Biafrans, IPOB want Nigeria to divide, IPOB wants to destroy Nigeria. But it's already destroyed. Is Somalia not better? The citizens of Somalia are getting visa to US, but your Nigerian citizens cannot enter US. Is it because of the activities of Igbo man? No. Is it because of the activities of the Yoruba man? No. Is it because of the activity of Middle Belt man? No. It is because of the activities of the Fulanis. So who is actually destroying Nigeria in a true sense of what destruction represents? It's them. But to me, I encourage them to keep on destroying it more. Yes, they should keep on destroying the contraption until the contraption finally ends and everyone seeks for his own area. So I want to thank everyone who joined us and say, may Chukwu Okabiyama preserve and above all keep us safe. From here, I want to say goodbye.
Kama nige duputa muwa, adu aga ge duna. Jime kwena.